The Indiana Fever have signed Chloe Bai, who was most recently with the Golden State Valkyries. Chloe Bai, dude, is the new member of the Indiana Fever's roster. The Indiana Fever have signed Chloe Bai to a contract. Chloe BBY has really been signed by the Indiana Fever. Chloe Bai recently signed a new 7-day contract with the Indiana Fever, which is a stunning turn of events. Startling change in circumstances. Sending A after defeating the Las Vegas Aces at home last night. Fever made it their mission to recruit Chloe Bai to their squad. Shortly after it was revealed that Caitlin Clark would be absent for a longer period of time than anticipated. Caitlin Clark will not be returning for some time. There is no firm timeline for her return, the extent of her injuries, or its current state. The timing contradicts the team's assertion that this is not a replacement. Caitlin's absence leaves fans to wonder if the Fever are quietly getting ready to live without their biggest celebrity. Please leave a remark below to express your unwavering support for Caitlin Clark. In the WNBA, Clark has solidified her position as the most well-known player. Fans and collectors alike are certain that her stock will continue to increase in the upcoming years, as evidenced by her most recent record-breaking acquisition. There is more to Caitlin Clark than simply basketball. An Indiana Fever player. She is their whole brand, their main attraction, and the reason they are receiving national notice. The Indiana Fever defeated Asia Wilson and the Las Vegas Aces 8-0-7-0 on Thursday night, although Caitlin Clark missed her third straight game because of an injury. However, the franchise's face is now once more on the sidelines, and the uncertainty is greater than ever this time. Caitlin's recurrence of the same groin issue that kept her out of 5 games earlier this season has been officially confirmed by the team. As you can see, Clark will keep collaborating with the medical staff during her rehabilitation with the goal of ensuring her long-term health and well-being. There is no schedule for when she will return. There is currently no schedule for Clark's return, and no further information will be given. No schedule is available for no further information will be given until Clark returns. There is now no meaningful update, no time frame for her return, and only silence. However, I did notice that the ending would simply be that minus Caitlin Clark. This is not the same as Showtime Fever without Caitlin Clark. Additionally, it raises concerns when a top athlete like Clark disappears without the company providing clear explanations. Fans have ample right to be anxious. The Indiana Fever and Stephanie White may be the only things preventing Caitlin Clark from accomplishing more and blowing these things out of proportion. It is impossible to replace Caitlin's presence on the court. Her intensity, range, and court vision totally changed the Fever's offensive strategy. The team loses identity in addition to points when she is absent. But I'm considering thought. And I'm considering this as a team that is growing without Caitlin Clark so that they can compete when she returns. And I'm seeing some fantastic things from the Indiana Fever. Her absence has already demonstrated the vulnerability of the current roster structure. Decision-making slows down, the offense becomes fragmented, and the Fever's chances of gaining ground drastically diminish. The game has been altered by Lynn Clark. She altered it in both the WNBA and college. The nation is in love with what we have produced. And here's the grown-up girl next door, America. Clark Caitlin, breaking collegiate scoring records and introducing women's basketball to a new audience. Caitlin Clark has enthralled the country. She is a phenomenon. She is more than just a fantastic rookie. She is the focal point. And everything feels strange without her. The thing that stings the most, though, is how little support and protection she has had up until now. More heavy hits and dubious fouls have been thrown against Caitlin than at most other players in the league. However, the officiating is still erratic and occasionally careless. And dude, we discovered this video right here that has subsequently spread like wildfire online. And this isn't a good look, I'm telling you now. Thank you to Heavens FX. He stated, If the WNBA continues to ignore things and makes foul calls like this on Sophie Cunningham, it's hilarious. Caitlin would shoot 50 free throws a game if she got this whistle. Social media has been inundated with viral videos of blatant fouls being disregarded, which have sparked despite the outcry from fans and even former players. The WNBA has not made a significant public statement or shown any real accountability. The silence is deafening, and despite her injury, Caitlin continues to push the WNBA brand to new heights. Caitlin Clark is breaking records both on and off the court. The record went from 366,000 to 660,000. The hype surrounding Caitlin Clark is real, and it appears that it will not be going away anytime soon based on ratings, collectibles, and cards. Her rookie card recently sold for a record-breaking $660,000, making it the most expensive WNBA card ever and almost doubling her own previous record. Not only is that remarkable, but it's unprecedented, demonstrating that Caitlin's influence extends well beyond the court. Clark has solidified her position as the WNBA's biggest name, and as evidenced by this most recent record-breaking acquisition. Both fans and collectors are certain that her stock will continue to rise in the years to come. She's changing culture, redefining fan engagement, and as she recovers in silence, the front office avoids clear explanations and makes evasive moves, and that's what has people talking. The market knows Caitlin Clark's worth. The market knows Caitlin, bringing commercial value the league has never seen before. So, how is it possible that someone contributing this much value, both on and off the court, is being treated like just another roster name? Fans aren't just concerned about the injury anymore. They're also concerned that the Fever aren't serious about building a fan base. Clark's notoriety. The market understands what Caitlin Clark brings to the table, but Kathy Engelberg just doesn't get it yet. The Fever, they just don't get it yet. Seth W. just doesn't understand it yet. Caitlin Clark has solidified her position as the most well-known figure in the WNBA. And as evidenced by this most recent record-breaking acquisition, both fans and collectors are certain that her stock will continue to rise in the years to come. She should be protected, given priority, and most importantly, valued for who she is. Her current absence has revealed the gaps in the organization's long-term planning. And the subsequent roster move of adding a player on a 7-day contract only sparked more questions. Obvious that they're scrambling, but the only question is, are they scrambling for a temporary solution or a quiet transition into a future without Caitlin? The Indiana Fever just announced that they signed Chloe Bai to a 7-day contract. Welcome to Indy, Chloe. Now, the most important thing I recall about Chloe immediately following the news that Caitlin Clark might be out longer than anticipated was that she was doing really well with Thea on the surface. It may seem like a routine roster adjustment, but given the timing and the team's current state, it feels like something bigger. I believe she was only with the Valkyries for about 5 games, while many of their players went to Eurobasket, which I believe was around the 19th to the 29th or somewhere along those lines. Is the team preparing for something more permanent? Or is this the beginning of a new strategy while Caitlin heals? Chloe Bai, a 27-year-old Australian forward who most recently played with the Golden State Valkyries for 2 stints during the 2025 season, has signed a 7-day contract with the Indiana Fever, the team announced today. Bai is more mature than players with less experience, scoring 6.4 points to 8 rebounds, 40% from the field and 42% from 3. Let's begin by introducing Chloe Bai, a 27-year-old Australian forward who isn't yet well known in the WNBA. She has only played 5 games during her previous stint with the Golden State Valkyries, but she already made an impact. In her debut game against the Indiana Fever, she scored 12 points and made 2 of 6 3-point attempts. That game alone seems tooth. The last time we saw Chloe Bai, she scored 12 points against the Indiana Fever. Wait for it, in her WNBA debut. She shoots over 40% from the field and over 40% from three. However, before we get into that, Kane Clark broke records on the court. Breaking records on the court and becoming a shooter off the bench. In her brief tenure with the Valkyries, Chloe shot 42% from three, breaking records off the court. While she isn't expected to replace Caitlin in terms of play style or star power, she does bring range, and the Fever are in dire need of that kind of perimeter presence, without Caitlin spacing the floor and forcing defenses to stretch out. The offense becomes predictable and clogs the paint. Having a knockdown shooter like Chloe Bai, even for just 1 week, might give the Fever the spacing they need to get their post players like Aaliyah Boston going again. But this move also reveals a deeper problem within the roster. Some of their current players, like Brianna Turner, are barely seeing minutes because they haven't been able to establish a reliable second unit. Chloe's arrival immediately puts pressure on players who have been underperforming. The message is clear. If you're not helping this team win, you're replaceable. This is the problem with Caitlin. And listen, I could tell a lot of people don't understand basketball, and a lot of you do. But a lot of you guys don't. Chloe by signing a 7-day contract with the Indiana Fever, but let's not pretend this is some sort of game changer. Chloe's contract is for 7 days, so she's not coming in as a franchise savior. This is a trial run. And that might not be a bad thing given how stagnant the rotation has looked at times without Caitlin leading the offense. Simply put, the Fever are saying, let's see if she can help in the short term in this low-risk, high-reward acquisition. If not, we proceed. We just need someone who goes above and above a bit more. I will also examine her clips more. I believe she was all right based on my observation of a few Asia Cup matches. And that's why the action is so daring and in a desperate state. It's bold since they're risking a comparatively unknown player during a postseason run. They're desperate because they're looking for anything that could give them momentum without Caitlin. Additionally, optics is the unspoken problem. You get what I'm saying though? And making those significant acquisitions in free agency. Many individuals wanted to know what the Indiana Fever would do in free agency. I believe that they were adopting a similar strategy here, merely attempting to ascertain the available personnel and the nature of the terrain. And based on my observations, there wasn't much out there. To be honest, I would have loved to sign a me here. It sends a message if you sign a player shortly after your franchise star retires. Regardless of whether it was the intended meaning, the time is up to the fans to decipher. And a lot of people already assume that the club is getting ready for a period of time or perhaps a future without Caitlin Clark. The duration of the contract, the coaching staff's lack of openness, and the frequent reference to temporary all give the impression that the Fever are merely attempting to hold things together until a more conclusive event occurs. Kane Clark will not be returning for some time. No schedule is established, stone for the injury, the state of the injury, and her return. Caitlin Clark is not being replaced by Chloe Beebe, although she shouldn't be. The fact that she signed at this precise moment says a lot about what's going on behind the scenes. Given that she is 27 years old, she is older than people with less experience. 2 points, 4, 8 rebounds, 42% from three-point range, and 40% from the field. There is a bandage covering a serious wound. Furthermore, it does little to address the underlying damage, even though it might temporarily stop the bleeding. A franchise without a star and no clear strategy to deal with the consequences. We were all discussing this in my live. The Aces' improved appearance was the topic of conversation. They are, too. Since Asia Wilson returned with her wrist sprain, they have been appearing better. She has been scoring about 30 points in games. However, I must admit that the Aces are equally as messy as the Indiana Fever, if not more so. You can't help but wonder whether a team's decision to sign A guy on a 7-day contract after losing the most significant rookie in decades is a warning sign or damage control. Caitlin already, Clark's unplanned absence is a setback. However, the Fever responded by saying that the Vox would have signed her immediately if she had been talented enough. Even if she was attending the Asia Cup. At this moment, she would be on the Valkyries. She were good enough, she would be on the Valkyries right now. At the same time, though, we must also examine it. Most likely, it refers to Michaela Timpson's number of minutes is reduced to 0. Scrambling to patch holes with temporary agreements and avoiding direct communication raises the possibility that something more significant is happening behind the scenes. And fans are beginning to piece it together. Injury hasn't been the only reason Caitlin Clark has been out. She has frequently been disregarded, ill-protected, and placed in circumstances where her enormous worth wasn't equaled by organizational assistance. Her statistics don't seem too amazing, do they? She's solid, and I remember her from when we played the Valkyries, even though they don't seem particularly impressive. It's obvious that Caitlin has been let down more than once this season, from the WNBA leadership and coaching staff's silence to the inconsistent officiating that has allowed heavy fouls to go uncalled. And now questions are circulating as her body takes the toll. Can she take any more? This isn't just about basketball anymore. Caitlin Clark is breaking records and changing the definition of value in the WNBA off the court. We might be able to accomplish it. Perhaps we could give her the 5 and give Timpson additional minutes. Sophie Chloe Bai and the Rary McDonald is in there, along with Cunningham, Lexi Hull, or Kelsey Mitchell. She almost doubled her previous record when her 1/1 rookie card sold for an incredible $660,000. Her audience is at all-time highs. She created a thriving market for WNBA products. She is playing for a team that is unable to develop a capable system around her. And she is doing all of this while doing so. Not only is that kind of separation annoying, but it also poses a risk to the longevity of a budding star. In actuality, Caitlin Clark, who we saw yesterday, ought to be the main focus of a long-term strategy. She may also take up more Adanta's time, although she seems like a superior shooter. She can shoot as well as a dentist, as if she were a shooter of lights, as if you have to be honest there. Chloe Bai is ideal if all you want is a shooter and you are only interested in shooting. She is flawless. In contrast, the Fever seem to be improvising their way through every injury, game, and decision. She is somewhat of a giant. The coaching is still not very good. The player development is not constant. To make it through the week, they are now adding short-term contracts like Chloe Bai. You can't construct a future around a once-in-a-generation skill like that. You lose one that way. Online discourse is rapidly changing. Caitlin's career path is becoming a source of concern, which began with her health. The game has been altered by Clark. In college and the WNBA, she made a change. The nation is in love with what we have produced. And here's the grown-up girl next door, America. Clark, Caitlin, breaking collegiate scoring records and introducing women's basketball to a new audience. Caitlin Clark has enthralled the country. She is a phenomenon. The question of whether she will demand a trade is one that fans are openly asking. Will she remain if this mayhem goes on? Could she someday look outside of the WNBA, or perhaps depart for a better-run team? Caitlin Clark was scoring 24 points per game on average. Kelsey was scoring 26 points each game on average. Additionally, Kelsey was making three-pointers on average. 4 of them were made in shooting 5,247 92% in each game. To be clear, Caitlin Clark is not the issue at hand. The league has been waiting for the solution, and she is it. She might not stick around to see how it ends, though, if the Fever don't start behaving like a franchise deserving of her skill, offering protection, developing chemistry, and creating a genuine future. The Chloe B. Dubai deal could be brief, but the lesson it conveys could be much more enduring. There's a problem over there. She is expected to do a little bit better, so it's concerning if she's simply not shooting good and lighting it up. However, it's ultimately a signing. It's superior. She is superior to Bree Turner. Whatever the Indiana Fever want to say, they can. Chloe Beebe isn't a substitute. Caitlin Clark's return is imminent. The fans aren't blind, but everything is good. They sense the stress, they recognize the patterns, and they are beginning to express themselves. Caitlin Clark has kept this franchise relevant, garnered unprecedented attention, and persevered through mental and physical fatigue without the assistance. All we require is someone who is willing to go above and above. I will also examine our clips in greater detail. I believe she was all right based on my observation of a few Asia Cup matches. Instead of supporting her now that she is sidelined, the Fever are making haphazard decisions that simply make matters worse. Caitlin may not be with this team for long if they don't wake up and act like they truly deserve a star like her. Additionally, please leave a 100% positive comment in the comments section and let the world know that you support Caitlin Clark through all of this deserves.